put this on the stand here. Oh, hopefully I got the angle right. Alright, welcome back. It's time for an update. It's well into September, and I'm just going to show you what's been happening with the houseplants. It's still hot and very humid, and the hottest month here in Japan is August, and daily temperatures are around 37 degrees. That's the overall weather forecast, but when you go outside it's much hotter than that. So I get readings of 35 degrees in this room with the fan blowing. It's blowing like we're down at the beach or something. It's blowing that hard. It's on rhythm to make it more natural, but that fan is blowing hard to try to keep it cool in here. And I'm just going to do an update on plants because this may interest you. Woohoo! Okay, first up, this is my Rhipsalis. Everyone has a Rhipsalis at home. This surprised me a lot because I thought this would be a plant that would succumb to high temperatures and start to die off, but surprisingly it has been able to put up with it. Not only that, put out new growth. As the new growth comes out, it's quite thin and it'll thicken up later on. I water it once a week. Sometimes I could do with a bit more water than that because of the growing conditions here, but overall it's been a success under these circumstances with this high heat. And I bought this plant as a full plant, by the way. It's one plant that I used to cultivate a lot as a young child, and I had fun with it. Alright. Next up is Rhipsalis. Rhipsalis, and it has dropped another piece. This one has been dropping a lot of growth. It does have this main branch here that's very, very strong and sturdy. It dropped a lot. It's probably dropped more than half of its total mass. You can see here that it's still dropping pieces, but not as much as it was in August. In August it reached its limit for heat tolerance. So I can say that this plant doesn't do very well in temperatures that are over 35 degrees daily in your room. If you do have air conditioning or a cooler that you can turn on during the day and keep temperatures around 25 degrees, then it would be much better for this plant. This is not a plant that loves the heat whatsoever. It loves temperatures around 25, is just ideal for it. And what I've done is I've tried to push in the pieces that have fallen off, but because of the stress this plant's been under, it's not going to have that. It doesn't want to propagate. But it's going to survive, and we'll just see how next year goes. It starts dropping off half of its bulk of leaves, and it's just not going to be a plant that's worthy. I do have trouble with Rhipsalis, but if I grow them outdoors underneath trees out in the garden, they do much better. But indoors in this kind of tropical country, they don't do too well at all. And if you're watching from Britain, you may grow something like a Rhipsalis boliviana, and it looks much better than mine. Well, then it just goes to show you that your cooler conditions are actually ideal for Rhipsalis. They do not like or tolerate extreme temperatures. Ideally, this plant, as I said, its minimum temperature indoors is about 10 degrees, and its maximum temperature that it likes to grow at is about 25. Okay, but once you get to 30 is like, I would say 30 degrees. So today in this room right now it's about 30 and it's tolerable. This plant is fine with that. But once you get to 35, okay, then you got to start making some plans. So this plant has been growing slowly but steadily. It didn't drop any foliage like the other Rhipsalis I showed you, and I have a hard time trying to propagate it. But I think I'll take cuttings in the springtime, see if I can grow it. But it's away from the direct sun. Any direct sun will cause it some big problems. Okay, next. This is a Phalaenopsis, and it's growing in a very, very open mix. It's kind of a little sphagnum and mainly a Cymbidium mix, so it's pumice and bark. This is its newest leaf it's putting out. It has been tolerating the high temperatures, even though that it's not its favorite. It needs the fan blowing. If this was in the west side of the house, it would be probably gone by now, because that is where the afternoon sun hits, and that's even hotter. This is the only one that does any good anywhere besides the living room, which has the air conditioner, and that air conditioner keeps the room at its 25, 26 degrees. So whoever said that Phalaenopsis like hot greenhouses? Did you know that in Japan they have air conditioning in their greenhouses? Because they do not like temperatures anywhere near 35 degrees. And if it is, then they need to be mounted. So what I did is I finally mounted a Phalaenopsis on a piece of wood. It's off the maple tree, and this particular one had rotted off one side, so it's kind of ideal because it has a nice concave to it, and I put it in there and it's doing much better because it's getting 100% airflow outside, but it's in the shade there. But in pots in the heat, they don't do any good. Let's do an update on this. I got far too many cuttings in here, but I did buy it and I repotted it, and this is Cordata, Hoya Cordata. So Hoya Cordata is fine when we get up into the temperatures, those 35-degree temperatures inside this room during the summer. It is so stifling hot in here that just to stand in here, your shirt would be soaked and stuck to you. It's that hot, and of course I have told you the temperature on the balcony. In the summertime it's like 43, way over that temperature. It's absolutely amazingly hot. I'm going to try to take this out. Hopefully I don't break anything. I do have a peperonia hope that's kind of growing around it. This is Hoya carnosa Crimson Princess, and it's been growing fantastic. It is able to put up with the temperatures in here much more than the Phalaenopsis or orchids in general, unless it is a Rapiculus orchid that grows in Brazil. That means it grows on rock. Okay, those ones can handle it. And you can see up here, this is its latest growth. And to be able to grow this and have it grow consistently, I have to have it in a cache pot that has water in it. If I don't, it'll dry out far too fast, and in this heat the roots quickly die off. And I mean quick, because of the high temperatures. And that's just how you have to cultivate it when you live in the tropics here. If you do live in a tropics and you have a tropical garden like Florida or Malaysia or somewhere like that, and you have this in the garden growing in a pot, you don't need a cache pot, because you've got relatively high humidity and rainfall, and the plant just gets adequate water. But however, to grow it inside here in a tropical country, it's got to have the cache pot. I have tried growing without it, and what happened is it had a period where it dried out, and then I tried to water it again, and that was the end of it. It died fast, and I had to take cuttings, and I grew the plant back again. Okay, this one is quite big, and it's quite bold because I didn't trim it back when I repotted it. This is my Hoya Bella, and as Hoya Bella grows and gets older, it naturally loses leaves from some of the old parts, and they get woody, but it has put out a lot of growth everywhere. And it was moved because it was closer to the window, and it did not like temperatures of 35 degrees, so it had to be moved to a shadier spot in this room, and it didn't appreciate the sun on it. Even though it was through a sheer curtain, it was just making it too hot, and this thing was drastically losing leaves left, right and center. It is doing much better now, and it dries out really quick. I mean, I'm watering this all the time. It's like I can't keep up with it. I water it every day and it dries out. And it has got the cache pot here, and it's growing in Akadama, because I find that when I grow it in an open mix, I can't keep it moist enough. And the only one that I can keep moist enough is the one in the living room. And that one has a cache pot that's full of water all the time. It's amazing how much water it actually needs. And a little update on this. It just looks like a cutting that you wouldn't even sell online yet. Well, I wouldn't. But this is its latest growth. It has this whole new vine and a whole new vine here. This is rotundifolia. I had to start it again because I bought it as a rooted cutting, but when it was sent with the roots completely dried out. And what happened then is that the roots had died, and I tried potting it up, but it didn't work. So I had to take cuttings and start it again, but I was very close to buying another one. But I decided to just see if I can revive these little pieces, and they have. So I'm happy about that. I like rotundifolia for its pretty neat looking truncate leaves. And it has a little bit of slight hairiness to the leaves, and they're quite thick. But don't let that fool you, like it still likes water. What else can I show you? Let's do a little update on this. This one has actually shade between this plant and the window, so it's not getting full sun on it, it's just getting shade. dappled sunlight, and it has paper towel on the window to keep the sun off it, because I don't want sun on this, and it's a jewel orchid. And I keep this one moist. And to put out the most growth, I mean, this is from high humidity. So we had, during July and all of August, it's been low rainfall, and if it does, it's like periodic deluge kind of rains where it actually floods the drains. The drains are actually spewing out water, they can't take it, and then it'll go straight back to sunshine again. And the humidity's kind of gone up and down, but as we entered the end of August and going into September, we've had a lot more rainfall, and the humidity's been pretty high. I mean, we've had days there where it's hung around 90%, and this particular jewel orchid put out the most growth, and the temperature was still around 30 degrees at the time. So it was pretty humid and hot and sticky, and it really likes it, so it pushed out a lot. And this is actually some parts that were taken off the main plant, which is here. It's actually bigger than the main plant, and sometimes it gets knocked. So not too long ago the growing tip got knocked off it, but it sent out a new branch here, and don't be alarmed if it loses a branch here and there, but overall it's growing really nicely, and I'm happy I can grow a jewel orchid. And as far as growing conditions go, it has put up with the high temperatures, although it wasn't its favorite. It didn't really like it, but it didn't lose any foliage, and it didn't die, didn't lose any roots. But as soon as you put it in any amount of sun, any amount, especially during the hottest times of the year, it will die fast. And at first it won't show it, but it will quickly decline, so please don't put it in any direct sunshine. If you are watching from the UK, if you have ambient sunshine, so you are probably able to put that in some of that sunshine, because it's different. It's just kind of warm, right? But here it's different. The sun's different. It's sun from hell. There's a plant that doesn't mind high temperatures, and we're not going to be able to see it all, but this is Ceropegia woodii, and it doesn't naturally grow like this, but I do think that if it grows in a very high rocky cliffy area, it would tend to cascade off it, and it has the habit of growing bulbs along the nodes here, which develop new plants as it creeps along the ground. But we grow it as a hanging plant here in our collections, because we can't have this trailing all over the floor, can we? Alright, move this a little bit. Try to pull this out. Try to. What have I done? Did something really. Did something bizarre, and I actually tried to attach this Hoya. Let me just do this quickly, and then I will show you it. What happened is, why I'm taking so long to get it down, is that I accidentally use one of my dragonfly clips when I clipped the vines onto another plant's dangling rope there. So I just had to take it off. But this is Hoya Deiki. And this Hoya gets water. Let me have a look here. This Hoya gets quite a lot of water. It's pretty thirsty. It gets water probably every day here in this tropical weather. I put it in this cache pot and it sucks it all up into the root system. But then I have to be very careful that when we start getting much cooler weather, like it starts to rain more and it goes down into the 20s, I've got to not water as much. Make sure that I'm not putting any water in this reservoir here. This reservoir only works during these hot tropical times, and the plant has a big demand for water. But when we get down to the lower temperatures in the 20s, I can't afford to have any water in the reservoir. It's growing pretty well for how much of a small pot it is, and it has these big leaves on it. It has put up with the temperatures, 35 degrees. Yes. It's got magnificent foliage on it. And so far it hasn't flowered, although it's got these long runners coming off. And these things will die back on the tip if there's any lack of water. In these growing conditions, that is. For you guys, you can grow in terracotta. If you live in a cooler climate, it's not like the tropics here, then you can let it dry out between waterings. I mean, not bone dry, but here its demand for water is much more. Also, another point is when you live in these hot climates, when you put your plant back, you better put it back facing the same direction, because if even a slight turn, then those leaves could drop off or burn. But I do have a lace curtain to prevent that. And you're probably wondering why have I got a lace curtain, nice sunny windows. It's too much sun. Far too much. They don't need it all. And that's here. But for any other viewers, maybe from England, as I said before, you probably wouldn't need lace curtain. You could just have the window, the Hoyas growing close to the windows, and that would be adequate. I'm starting to perspire quite a lot, so I don't mind if I sound like I'm a toy with a dying battery. That would be just the heat, me trying to cope with it. I'm so glad this Hoya is doing fine. Hoya retusa. Is it retusa? Jeez. When I did buy it, I'll tell you something funny. I thought it was linearis, and I thought, what is wrong with this linearis? Why is it got these long growths on it? And it looks like the tarantula's foot at the end of it. If you look at a tarantula's foot, it looks like that. I was kind of wondering why it was growing like that, and then it was. When I looked it up, I described it, it came up with retusa. And it's been doing much better. Planted in Akadama for for all things. It's not a lithophytic soil mix whatsoever, but it likes to grow in that more than bark and pumice. And I'm just glad that it stopped dropping leaves. It has periods there where it drops a lot of leaves, and I don't know what that's all about, but it kept continuing and continuing no matter what I did with the watering schedule. So I put it in akadama, and that wasn't because I had a suspicion about bark pumice and cocoa coir. I had planted it numerous times back into fresh mix, but I've given up with it and I put it in akadama. So this is a much cooler growing Hoya. It's not a big fan of those 35-degree temperatures, so it is growing back away from the window. As I moved it, a leaf dropped off. I'll tell you what, if it never grows into a full plant and it looks terrible forever, and it just can't be growing, it's okay to let go of it and just admire another person's. But there are plants that do thrive in here, and there are ones that are always going to struggle, and there's no use putting them through misery. Because let's face it, the summers here are long, and they're just going to have to put up with another summer. This one has gone kind of bald. It's my linearis, and you can see that it has completely lost all the leaves off here, and this all started in August. Did not like the August heat, and what I'm going to have to do is make space for this in the living room, and it's going to live in there where it can have the air conditioner set at 25 degrees. That's what it likes. It doesn't like the heat. It dropped leaf after leaf. It stopped dropping leaves now because we've had rainy weather where the temperature's gone down into the 30s, and it has ceased to drop. But do I want to have a plant that does this every August? Can you imagine if it started to grow more foliage and then it lost half of it? It's just not worth it. It's not growing anywhere near it's not growing in its ideal conditions at all. So it's going to have to move. Otherwise it's just going to keep dropping foliage and never grow at all. I love Rhipsalis, however, as I've said, that I'm not going to grow very well in this room. So that is the plan. Plans to move it out. This one here, Hylia involucrata. It's got a lot of brown leaves on it. However, I know that it's going to come away with a flush of growth, which it's trying to do now. It looks quite poor because of the heat, and it's not growing in its ideal conditions. However, it's actually started to grow a lot of new growth, which will be very hard to see through the camera here. I don't know if you can see inside it or not, but on the stem there inside it's starting to branch out. So it'll be a lovely plant during the cooler weather, but during the very hottest times it struggles a lot. and that's the way it is, and that's how it's going to grow. But I look forward to the cooler weather, and it can look better. This one here is Letterboria socialis. So this one's had no problems at all. In actual fact, I water it once a week and it's not enough. It's even more thirsty than that. But it is from South Africa, and they do have a dry season where it's common for this to actually lose all its foliage and just be a bunch of bulbs. So don't be alarmed if you let it dry out too much and it loses a lot of foliage. It'll grow back. This is well worth growing indoors for me because I can say it thrives. You need a few plants that thrive, isn't it? This is one of my Sansevierias, and the Sansevierias are a piece of cake for me to grow. This one's Golden Honey. It's just a miniature. I like that one. And next to it is a Miltonia. This is a Miltonia Liku. Purple Biwa. And you can see that it has developing these flowers. It's a tough plant. You may be looking at the leaves and everything. In habitat they look like that too. You get dried leaf tips, leaves fall off it, they get bulbs on them. All the leaves have fallen off completely. They do all of that stuff. It doesn't like overwatering. It likes to be underwatered. So I let it dry right out before I give it a water. And it's just in chunky bark. And most of the time it's dry. And it likes it like that. It'll come into new growth in late autumn or beginning of winter. It'll start to grow its new bulbs, and hopefully the weather won't be too hot so that it can flower well. Okay, just pop these back up because you know me, I'm just gonna get distracted with something and walk away. Forget them. I've already had enough of the heat. Alright. Dracaena sultacasana. Yeah, this plant is doing really well for the high temperatures. Not a problem whatsoever. And it dries right out between waterings. Doesn't need a self-watering pot. It's quite happy the way it is. In the winter time it can look a little haggard. But during the summertime it certainly puts out a lot of growth, and it's a miniature Dracaena, so it won't get too tall. And once it does, you can prune it. Next up, this is a nice community of Cryptanthus, and this Cryptanthus will, after flowering, it'll push out pups. They grow up, and you can break them off. And this one is one I've put back in there, and I'm pretty sure it's rooted. I've got another one on this side that I've put in, and it's rooted too. But this is a piece of cake. 35-degree temperatures in this room didn't bother it one little bit. In actual fact, when it gets down to about 10 degrees during the winter in here, it gets a little leaf dieback, but it doesn't kill the plant. But in the heat and everything like that, it's fine. Speaking of heat, I don't need it. Who enjoys hot weather? Anybody there? Okay, this is Oenella polystachys, native to Madagascar. And this one grows close to the shore. It's very tropical, hot, very breezy because it's close to the coast, and very, very humid. So during the most humid weather, which we've been having, it will put out roots. These roots are a result of low humidity. So they start to die off. And I've been trialing this plant in here. It's growing in sphagnum moss, which is not something that I really want to grow it in, so I don't overwater this at all. I let it dry out, and then I put a little water in, but I don't completely soak it. And it's supposed to be quite a prolific grower. It has put out this branch here, and it's got one down inside here. It's been growing for a while. It has beautiful fragrant flowers. I actually love them. And if it doesn't flower again, it's time for it to become an outdoor plant in the summer. So it's kind of on trial. This one desperately needs a repot. It's pretty root bound and it dries out far too quick. Philodendron Brazil. It's still healthy and it's still been pushing out new growth. During that August heat, with those temperatures riding up into 35 in this room, it didn't really like that. It would drop the leaf here and there, but nothing too major. It was still trying to develop new growth too. Here's a growing tip when it gets really, really, really hot, like it has been. Don't overwater your plants to compensate for the heat and think that it might cool them down or help them. It can just sometimes make them rot. Yeah, they can't do any better. You know, they're under stress. For that particular plant, I took cuttings off and I've put them in water. Now, a lot of you will think that's a waste of time because you're going to have to put them in a pot of soil anyway. But once again, because of how hot it is here in the summer, I can't do cuttings during the summer. We get the high humidity in there as well. They tend to rot. Ideally, cuttings strike and grow better at temperatures around under 30 degrees. So there is nowhere that I can find that's cool enough to strike cuttings and make them grow well. So the only way that they grow roots, and this is not because I wanted to do propagation, it's because I took cuttings off it because the plant was getting too big and I didn't want to throw them away. So I strike the roots off in water, and once it cools down October, I will plant them into soil. And another reason why I'm doing that is I'm going to have to trim that Philodendron Brazil back because it's in macrame and it's hard to untangle and get the whole thing out to repot it, so it has to be trimmed right back, repotted. And if anything goes wrong, I just have another plant growing. But it's nice to have two plants growing in two different places, so I got one here and one in the living room, and we're going to see how they both grow. Yeah, but I like having one in here. Alright. Before we go, we have a little look at where these plants are. The Philodendron Brazil here, Hoya Bella. We got another one of the rotundifolias growing. This is a cactus. It loves water. When it dries out, give it water. We got a nice Haworthia here, attenuata. It's growing really well. So my zygo cactuses. The foul. Up here you can see that it's shaded, right? But once again, those high temperatures have been making this one go bald. And I'm going to have to possibly cultivate it in the living room. Got to make space there. I didn't pull this one out because it's pretty damn big. And this is Hoya Hindu rope. And this one does fine with the high temperatures, no problem. It had an issue with root mealybug, but we took care of that. And you can see here and there we got new growth trying to push out. Every time I take it down, I try to have a peek in there to see what's going on. Fresh mix and a nice repot. Those root mealybug are not shy of coming out and revealing themselves. So if you can't see them, if you can't see anything on the stems, especially close to the soil, and use your magnifying glass, then you've probably eradicated them. So that's one of my favorite old-time plants. The repot is certainly what I really needed. I didn't pull this one out, but it's in flower right now, and it's Hoya Sunrise. It's a great bloomer for me and my favorite fragrance. We got the Hoya Carrii that I didn't pull out from here, but it's doing much better after its repot. It has these 3 new leaves, 1, 2, 3. Got a new leaf coming out there, and it's in a very well draining mix, almost like a cacti mix, really. And this is Hoya Matilde. It's been putting out vines everywhere, and it's just a massive roots tied up in there. I want to keep a little water in the reservoir, and then it'll drink it all up and gets re-watered every week. This is the growth coming out of my peperomia hope. It got repotted, and I did have to trim it, which was terrible. Didn't like doing that, but in order to repot it, this thing tends to break branches off when you're repotting it, because you just move them up a little high and then they snap off. I try to push back pieces of it after I let them dry and callus off to try to make the plant bigger, bushier. That's the Cordata, that's the Hoya linearis that's struggling there. And you got this Calistophylla, which is also a drinker, likes to drink plenty of water. And it's another one that's in the cash pot there. Big drinker, likes a lot of water. Got cardboard texture, coriaceous leaves. It has beautiful flowers that smell rather peculiar. Not my favorite fragrance, but really neat looking. I wonder what it attracts with that kind of fragrance. And It does have the peduncles that are still active, one there and one up there. It's a really neat plant. I like growing it. It's one Hoya that when I told you that when we get into about late October or into November, the temperatures will go down quite cooler, much cooler, and I just at that time I can't afford to leave water in the reservoir. It won't. I have to water it more carefully in the cooler seasons. We've got all these plants down here that I showed off. The one is Sansevieria Grey Honey. It's been doing good. This is my tall Sansevieria with almost terete looking leaves. You see these leaves a lot in nature. They have a deep groove down there. They're almost cylindrical. There's two different ones. There's Cylindrica, which is this one, and Fernwood, I think you call that one. This is my Nepenthes. What is it again? Nepenthes Gaia, which is a hybrid. And it's been putting out new pictures there. It's in a cache pot. I water it quite a lot with as fresh water as I can. It has the chlorinizer in it. This is its newest picture it's putting out. This one is Ventricosa, and when it puts out its new pictures, they've gone black at the tips, or they've died off. So I upped the watering. I'm keeping it much more moist now. And we'll see how that goes. It might be a Nepenthes that doesn't like too high temperatures. So we'll just see how it goes. If it never grows very well at all indoors, it'll become an outdoor plant. And that's it. I better put this one back. Luckily I saw it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. And you may see the Tillandsias are not here because they're off drying in another area. I watered them. And that's my update. So I hope it helps you out with your plants. And we'll see you next time. Bye bye.